Right, so I'm going to take some cuttings. I've picked this tray with the Valentine in. There's some big shoots and some small shoots in there. These little ones I will leave probably for another week. Some of these others will come out. So we don't ever, or I don't ever, cut into the tuber. So like cutting like this, I'm not going to go cutting in there and taking a node. Just use a blade, a scalpel, a penknife you can use, whatever you fancy. But leaving these eyes around here means that you're going to get the next batch of cuttings from them. So for me, I'm going to go in there. We've got the tip, small pair of leaves. We're leaving a couple of leaf joints behind, and just going to cut that through there. So that's what we've got. We've got tip and shoots. I tend to pull these off before I trim the bottom, only because if you cut it a bit close and you pull the leaves down, then you can sometimes take the node with it, thumb behind, cut through just below the joint. That's done, and that can just be dipped in the powder, gel, whatever you use, and then that will just be pushed into the tray here, which I'll show you. And I don't firm, but I do just sort of nestle it in around the side. It's sometimes good to get the big shoots out the way before you sort of get into the rest of it, because they can get in the way. And make sure you are leaving that pair of leaves. I'm going to take that big one out of there, which is quite a large shoot. Now, it's whether it will root or not, but there's several options here. It's quite a fat stem, so we've cut that off there. We have got the bit that we've removed and the tip. You can see it's not hollow, it is still intact. Remove one, and that still leaves quite a big leaf, and when you leave these big leaves, they can quite often dehydrate the cutting quite a bit. Try to do this in your view. So we just cut the leaf surface down, and that might root. It's a bit thick for this time of year, but we've got nothing to lose, and we'll put that in. Now, early on in the season, you've got time. So if it shoots like this, which is just effectively a stem, what you can do is trim below. Try not to drop it. Trim above, and then just put the blade through the middle, and effectively you've got yourself a leaf cutting. That again dipped in the powder and be pushed into the compost. This one remove some of the leaf area. You might want to trim that stem up a little bit, which I will. Dip, just so it's coated, and then into the compost, just firming it in. I tend to put them a little bit deeper and vertical. In with another. I'm going to leave that because I won't be able to take that one off without and leave a pair of shoots. This long one here, we're taking off down there, and again trim. Now it's only a small tip, so I'm inclined to leave a leaf intact. Base, dip, and in. And you can carry on going through this. There's another big shoot there. I wouldn't worry about these leaf cuttings if you think you're going to have plenty of material, then do without. They do take a little bit longer and a little bit more fiddly as far as when it comes to rooting. We've got one smaller leaf, one big leaf. We'll take the big one off, leave the smaller one on, dip, and then So there isn't really a definitive cutting or ideal cutting every time. You have to work with the material that you've got. That one I'll take as a longer one. A nice thin solid stem. Again, perhaps remove some of the leaf area. And sometimes these big leaves that are formed by the stems that we've left behind, I tend to just cut them off and get them out of the way because they just tend to get in the way. There's another one there, we'll get in there and take him. Again, just remove the bottom bits. That's quite nice, not too much on the top. And I've already got about 10 of these rooted, and I only really want to grow 12 plants, but I do want spares for pot tubers, and being that we're at the beginning of Valentine's Day tomorrow, somewhere towards the middle of February, these plants cuttings will be far too early and far too big to handle. Just going to trim that one up here because it's a bit easier. For show work and even for garden work, because they end up being almost trees. But once you've got them rooted, you've got plants, and if you've got plants, you can do something with them. And there's probably, I've just took 9. I just realised I got a hole. Let's take that one there then. Again, bottom leaves off. A cutting with roots is worth more than a tuber with a shoot, because you can keep from those plants once they're rooted. It'd be quite easy to produce somewhere in the region of 4 plants per cutting that's taken just by mother planting, which we'll show further on. The all important bit, the label, and then they go into the Vitapod, which is there, which I'm using as a workbench at the moment. The vent's slightly open, keeping a bit of airflow but not too much that the cuttings will wilt. And there's a tray of tubers still, and you can see probably in a few days time there'll be another probably 10 cuttings to take off of there again, hopefully by which time the white Alvis at the back there will have caught up. So it's not difficult, it's not definitive in the sense that a cutting must be X length, it must be X thickness. This time of year you've got time, you can play with them, and you can take as many variables as you like and see how you get on. You will have to tweak the environment you're rooting, whether it's too humid, not humid enough, and just keep a good eye on them. Give them a mist every now and again if you think that they're wilting, and just get them roots on the shoots. Once you've got that, you can play. I've now got 20 Canora Valentine cuttings rooted, and that'll do me. It doesn't matter if these tubers come off heat now or they give up throwing shoots. I've got enough plant material to play with, and this is those that have rooted, and you can see probably that was quite a thick cutting. You can see the roots are on there, and that's ready to pot and do something with. So they don't take long. That took probably about 3 weeks. Those were taken, and they've soon rooted. More light, more heat later in the season, then sometimes 10, 12, 14 days is all it needs. But have a go, keep it up, see you soon.